welcome to episode number 82 of the Nintendo Jump Podcast. We are a weekly discussion podcast created for Nintendo gamers by Nintendo gamers. It's January 23rd. My name is Daryl. I think you probably knew that, but this week I'm joined once again by Sergio. How are you, man?
Hey, Daryl. I'm doing well, no jinxing. It was a great week. Another one, even better than last week.
Nice.
Just keep going up, man.
Nice. You avoided the jinxes for now.
Yes.
For now.
Oh. Update next week.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, Sergio's just like magically missing next week. I hope not. And also joining us, you know him, you love him. Kevin, how are you, man?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. I just finished dinner, had chicken thighs via sous vide. One of my favorite things to do in the realm of cooking. The chicken's juicy, got some seasonings on it. I'm done with that. Daryl, how are you doing?
I am doing pretty well. I do have one little announcement before we really get going. So, as you have probably heard several times, because I love talking about it, we do a Game of the Month. And our Game of the Month for this month has been Shovel Knight. We've all been playing Shovel Knight Treasure Trove as a community. And that is wrapping up. We are going to have our Game of the Month episode next week. So if you would like your voice heard on actually joining this review and talking about your experience playing the game with us, hopefully you had a good time. We do have a survey link out there. Check our Twitter or our Discord and let us know what you think. This is also how you will nominate your game for next month's Game of the Month. So we're going to do a vote in our Discord again. Love doing it that way. And if you want to nominate a game, even if you didn't play Shovel Knight, you can just log in and nominate a game. Again, check our Twitter. There's a survey link, or get in our Discord, and we'll see you there. So that is pretty much it. But now we have an episode that we're a little late on, but is one that I'm actually very excited about finally getting on.
Ooh.
Kevin, what's our episode?
Oh, man. Well, we're going to talk about our top 10 games of the decade.
Yeah, so it's just at the end of January. But yeah, so it turns out, news, we just wrapped up a decade, and we're going to talk about gaming in that decade. And I think we each made not necessarily an ordered list, but a top 10 list of the games that we played last decade, and we're going to talk about them. And we're going to experience together some of our best gaming moments. So that's great.
Yeah, and the way we're going to do it is because obviously it's really hard to rank all of them. So we did it where we have our bottom 5 and our top 5. And yeah, that's how we're going to do it.
Nice.
You're an NJP. So
any interesting tidbits, like any little coincidences? For me, it turns out 2013 was an awesome year, and half of these games, half of the 10, are in a single system. So I love a system way more than I thought I did.
That's awesome.
Wait.
Uh-oh.
Half of my games are on the same system too, but that's not at all surprising. So,
Wait, me too.
I
think, yeah.
So to preface my list just a little bit, and this wasn't a universal rule, so if you guys didn't follow it, no worries. But when I was thinking about the list and such, I excluded a few things. So I excluded any game that was a port or remaster from a previous decade. So Wind Waker, gone. Unfortunately. So when you don't hear me talk about Wind Waker, it's not because I don't love that game. Love that game. It's because it's excluded. Cave Story, same type thing. I love Cave Story, but yeah. I also did not do multiple games that were reasonably similar, which I'll get into in a little bit. But if two games were very much alike or in the same series or something, I only have one. And we'll talk about that. But those were pretty much my rules. Any special quirks or rules, or as you were thinking about it, you guys tend to go with like the games that you thought were most important, or the games that you enjoyed the most? Like, what was your strategy here?
It's tough. I'm with these kind of things. I usually need a bit more time, and a lot of it's like cultural impacts, what it meant to me, what it means to, like just pretty much games that have made a tremendous impact even in other people's lives throughout the world. It's it's really hard for me to come up with a list. And it there were some games that I was like, oh goodness, I have to leave it out. But like The Legend of Heroes: Trails in the Sky, I cannot put you on this list.
Oh, what a fraud.
I
Okay.
know. Well, okay, hold on. You know what? I mean, because the thing is like they did well, I'll say in short, they streamlined a lot of things well, but I just did not think that they have a huge cultural significance. And that's really hard when you come up with this sort of list, when you hear of games of the decade. So, you know.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I mean, the games on my list, like, I get looking through them, most of them are actually fairly significant culturally, but that was not at all my consideration. So I was pretty straightforward. These are the games that I loved the most. So that's pretty much it. That was my strategy. What about you, Serge?
Yeah, for me it was very similar. These are games, except for one, it was games that I played and beat throughout the decade. But there are a few exceptions, and there are some that are either on the top five or on the bottom five, depending on cultural impact and how popular I know they are out there.
Fair enough. So, I mean, I guess with all that preface aside, it is time to decide definitively what the best games of the 2010s were. I think as always, I'm going to start with Sergio. So the way we're going to do this, we're going to each run through our bottom 5 games and give a short description, and then we'll discuss them a little bit at the end. So go ahead, man.
Sure, and you know what? Let's start with the only one that is not on a Nintendo system, sadly, because I feel like it would do well. It's a good game to be in there. And it's the Tomb Raider reboot from 2013. The first of the trilogy of the new Tomb Raider series, basically. To summarize it, basically it's like Uncharted, but it's fun and good.
Okay,
Sergio, just keep moving, man.
That was
keep moving, or we'll be dead here forever.
What a bomb!
Okay. No, I'm kidding. It's like Uncharted, but it's with Lara Croft and it's in the world of Tomb Raider. It's a very good game overall. Like,
good.
It's very well polished. You can play it in different ways. The sequels kind of kept it safe. They didn't really try anything too different, but it's one of those like more of the same, which is good type of thing. So all good.
Nice. Okay.
So I'm gonna start with The Last of Us. One of my favorite games of all time.
The last.
Well,
or
the 10th of us, yes.
The 10th of us, yeah. And I just love the way it was just this action adventure horror survival type of game, and the way they like Naughty Dog did a great job. And I'm always a big fan of the third person kind of shooter sort of thing too. It is a shooter as well. And going through the story with Joel and Ellie, and it's amazing to just see how realistic, like even when you play the game and the graphics and like the they're not really called zombies, but they're just like these strange creatures that just like they're just it makes you feel very into the environment. And like I had such an adrenaline rush even towards the very end of the game, and I feel like these sort of games are possible in just like it feels like a photorealistic setting. And it was really good at its time. In what was it
2013?
2013. Yeah, I was like, wow.
Good
yeah,
year.
see, it's a good year. Yeah, and The Last of Us 2 is coming out in May of this year, but that wasn't part of the consideration. Anyway, I just thought it was a very well done game. Deserves all the acclaim it gets. Troy Baker, an amazing voice actor. I am just so immersed in this environment of a game, like, and with every bit, every turn, every sound, even if it scared me to death, like, bam, I'm done.
Nice. Cool. So since I ordered my list, because I do this. My number 10 actually ended up being Shovel Knight. So Shovel Knight, you could argue it was literally the game of the decade because it's been updated so many times over this decade. Originally came out
Yeah.
in 2013, and then Plague Knight came out a little bit later than that. Spectre was a launch title for Wii. Spectre was a launch title for Switch, I should say. King of Cards just came out last year, so I mean, I was playing this game off and on for 7 years, and it replaying it has kind of opened my eyes that this is definitely one of my favorite retro style platformer ever. I've really grown to appreciate it a lot, and I already did, but I've kind of distilled that opinion a little bit, and yeah, so Shovel Knight, I love it, and we'll talk more about that next week. So yeah, Sergio, next.
Nice. Next game, Resident Evil Revelations for the
Oh.
3DS from 2012. And back then, the series was taking a turn more into the action-packed type of game instead of survival horror with Resident Evil 5 and then eventually Resident Evil 6. But Revelations, it went the classic way. It went more survival horror, in closed environments, like more of a traditional Resident Evil experience, but with the third-person shooter aspects of the new ones. It did really well. It was a really good game, especially for the 3DS, so much so that it eventually got ported to pretty much everything, even the Wii U. And I would say it's kind of laid the ground for how Resident Evil games are now. Because if you look at something like Resident Evil 7, which I thought about putting on this list, it didn't make it, only because, so that was a first-person shooter take on Resident Evil. It's a lot more survival horror for sure. But if you look at it, nothing has really come of it. They're kind of going back to the third-person shooter type. So I think Revelations did a lot for Capcom to decide how Resident Evil is going, and I think it's going well. And Revelations, I think, was the starter of that.
Yeah, great pick. Also had a really fun raid mode. Did you play the second one real quick?
I have not yet, no.
Yeah.
Okay, we should hop on that because it goes on sale a lot, and I would love to do raid battles with you. So
Nice.
yeah, we should hop on that. All right, Kevin, what's your
good.
unofficial number 9?
My unofficial number 9, Minecraft. Straight up Minecraft.
Really?
I did play. I did play a bit of it, and then just seeing just how people have gone with using the game to create all these sort of fantastic things. Like I think I did see one person did like recreate the city of Midgar in Minecraft, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Wow.
And I think that it deserves to be on this list because it has such an amazing significance in terms of people who want to have like truly a sandbox build, just build something like out of box experience, like just have their imaginations fulfilled with being able to build whatever they want. And I just think it just went places. I mean, this has been in existence since like 2011, and like people are still playing on different platforms, and people have bought it on multiple platforms. Like, how can you deny such a game that has just influenced people's creativity in such a way? And there's like different things, different like there's like zombies, spiders. I mean, there's like so many things that come in, and you can. And there's like a bunch of modes too. You can play survival, you can play adventure, you can do whatever you want, or just even be a spectator. And so there's so many ways you can play the game. And I just felt like, and obviously multiplayer is such a huge part. Being able to connect players together and build things and attack other monsters and what have you. Like, it is just a great open world sandbox environment of a game. So that's my pick.
Yeah, fair enough.
Nice.
My number 9 was actually so this is going to be kind of a surprise to people. More surprising the farther I go on this. My number 9 was Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Ooh. Oh.
So yeah, I told you. Xenoblade Chronicles X was the follow-up to Xenoblade Chronicles, but not in the same story, not a sequel. It's a completely different game, set on an alien planet after the Earth is blown up and the colonizers are trying to figure out the planet they're on. They need to find something critical, so a lot of the game is running around the map, mapping things, but it does have like the Xenoblade RPG elements and such. Fantastically huge world, split up into some of the coolest things I think I've ever seen in a video game. Monolith Soft is really cool at making really interesting worlds. This was the one that felt most like an overall seamless world, whereas the other Xenoblade games kind of feel broken up, either on the Titans or into specific areas. This one didn't. And to illustrate that, about I'll say this kind of laughingly, about 50 hours into the game, you get a mech. An actual mech, and about 20 more hours you can start flying around with that mech. You can fly around the entire map. The whole game is fantastic. It was kind of oddly reviewed. The story is a little funny, a little weird. There's a lot of strangeness on it, but overall, this was one of the first games I ever dropped 100 hours on. And this game, so I want to give a quick shout out to Radio Free Nintendo, another podcast who just had a similar discussion and really linked this game to Breath of the Wild, actually, because Monolith Soft helped out on the world of both, and you can really tell some of the similarities in the gameplay structure and such, although it's with a Xenoblade trappings. So it's just a really cool game, and ultimately it's a game that if it came to Switch, I would buy it and play 80 more hours. So there you go.
Nice. That's a solid series. I mean, yeah, I have not played Chronicles X, but I've heard quite a bit about it. I mean, the remake or the remastered version is coming out soon for the Switch.
That's not X. So that's the original.
Oh, dang.
So X has been rumored to be ported to Switch at some point, but
Right.
Okay.
we'll see. I hope so, because it actually has online multiplayer. Oddly enough, after you beat the game, it actually kind of opens up into like an MMO style.
God.
So
Wait.
you can actually jump on with other people and play.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
It's really funny.
Wow, that's
Alright.
crazy.
Stuff.
Sergio.
All right, unofficial number 8, Zelda: A Link Between Worlds
Ooh.
Nice.
for the 3DS again. 2013. So really cool game, a very nice combination of new things and old things. For Zelda, it was, I believe, the first Zelda game that lets you play dungeons in pretty much any order you want, which was really cool at the time. But when it comes to classic Zelda feel, basically it's set in the world of A Link to the Past. But there are a few different areas, definitely new characters and a very cool new story to the whole thing. So really enjoyable, very classic, a 2D top view Zelda with really cool new elements. And I would say the last good new traditional Zelda game, because Breath of the Wild really took things to a different open world scenario, but A Link Between Worlds kind of brought things back to classic Zelda, and it was really good.
Have you played Link's Awakening? The
For-
remake.
No, about half of it.
Oh, okay. I think that one's super good too. I love A Link Between Worlds. I played a lot of it. Unfortunately it didn't quite make my list. It was actually kind of a borderline remake thing, so it's not but it's the same world. But yeah, it's a great game. It played really well. It was fast.
Yes. Mhm.
I remembered how fast it played, and I really liked that. So awesome pick.
Good stuff. My pick, Undertale. I mean, it gotta be on the list. Undertale in the world of like so many RPGs out there with the focus of like killing monsters and other creatures and characters and all that. Undertale definitely took it a different spin. You are this kid, in this underground, and and you're trying to find your way out. And like one of the things that I really liked about just the way battles were made is that you don't have to kill anybody. You don't have to hurt a single soul. You could go through the game without hurting anybody, and like in the battle sequence you're able to do certain things, like maybe tell a joke or comfort a person or thing or whatever. And I just thought it was a really unique way of an RPG. And now granted, you can kill everything you see or encounter, which is the non-pacifist route, the genocide route, or you could be a pacifist and just try to go through a game without hurting a single thing. Besides the fact that the artist Timmy Chang worked on this game, it was made by one person, Toby Fox. Like incredible. Like
Best friends with Sakurai.
yeah,
the man, the myth, right there. Okay.
the legend, the OG, and Toby Fox with this game, he's gone to greater and bigger things. He has composed the soundtrack for was it the what was the name?
Oh, Little Town Hero.
Little Town Hero. There we go. And
Yep.
then he has one tune in Pokemon Sword and Shield. So
Right.
I mean, how cool is that? Um, it released about 4.5 years ago ish, and I mean, you can still play it. You should play it if you haven't played it yet. I mean, even the characters are awesome. Like, I love Sans, like the skeleton guy. Like, God, like just the dialogue is so good too. It's very, yeah, overall great game. Music, dialogue, gameplay, everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna jump into number 8, which ironically is Octopath Traveler. So I didn't actually plan that. I ordered my games and it ended up number 8. And I was like, well, that's perfect. Octopath Traveler is kind of a divisive game. And I know that going in. To me, Octopath Traveler has one of the best battle systems in any RPG I've ever played. I loved the kind of retro throwback RPG elements to it. I actually really liked, so the one main point of contention is the storytelling, which is broken up into basically 8 discrete stories that do tie in a little bit here and there, but there's not a whole lot of crossover. So basically it's 8 defined stories. I really liked it. And I really liked the way they did it. I ended up really liking the characters, which helps a lot in the overall game. And then as the game goes on in the story, it gets a lot more interesting. You start seeing how some of the overarching things tie together, kind of culminating in this final boss thing. So I've been recently watching my wife actually play the game for the first time, and she's nearing the end of it. And I've actually stopped what I was doing to watch her play for a little bit here and there at certain parts that I remember. And man, that game is just magical. If it hits you really hard, and I loved it. So, one of my favorite RPGs ever, and definitely looking at my list, the best pure RPG for me over the last decade. So there you go.
Yeah, and it met the hype, and even when you had the demos that came out, like they were very receptive to constructive criticism and things to make the game better. I mean,
Yes.
that is a formula for success for a game like Octopath Traveler. So
Yeah, and this one kind of took the place of Bravely Default, which might have been there, but it's reasonably similar. It's the same team. Also a killer battle system. Actually, Bravely Default probably has a better battle system, but much worse in other ways. I did forget to mention Octopath's soundtrack, which is probably the best gaming soundtrack I think I've ever heard. Just really, really good, top to bottom. I love this game. So there you go.
awesome.
Nice, very nice. So number 7? Yeah, 7. Another 3DS game, another game from 2013.
Oh no.
Pokemon X and Y.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, this is interesting because when I play these games, honestly, I didn't like them, but it's taken 7 years almost, and now I remember them very fondly. So,
Because they've gotten worse since then.
Oh man. Facts.
it was the first time that Pokemon went fully 3D, and it was very significant. It was a really cool world based on France. So they had a new region, new Pokemon. They introduced the fairy type. They introduced Mega Evolutions. And yeah, it's just one of those generations that for the people that really liked it, it really struck a chord. And I guess for me, it did. It just took a while.
I've had games like that, and that's cool.
Yeah. Oh, and it was also the first Pokemon game that came out at the same day internationally. Came out same day everywhere.
That's true.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
Very
big
good.
deal. I remember that.
Yep.
Cool. Excellent.
Awesome.
Kevin, what's your number 7? Unofficial.
Man, unofficial Journey, gotta be Journey. It's. I remember playing it on PS3 for the first time, and it was. I played it all the way through in one go, and it was probably the most visually and auditory experience I've ever had in a video game in a long time. Just going through the desert, the dunes, the sand, and without even saying what the story is all about, well, it's all visual, right? Like you're just going through and solving these sort of puzzles, and everything's so visual. You just have to you're just like scanning all around. Where there's mountains or like little puzzles or whatever, and in the very in the middle at times, you'll have other characters that are people who are playing the game as well come in to play co-op with you, and you don't even know who they are, but it's just like we're just doing it, like let's do this. And it's something about traveling with another person or thing that you just like meet randomly. There's just something stimulating about that. And yeah, it's not that long of a game, but it's just like a short and sweet kind of game. And I feel like it definitely just has that sort of visually stimulating experience that everyone should experience. I just said that word twice, but that's the thing. Like, and also the music plays really well with it too. Like, it's just now for me, I'm a big fan of jazz and hip hop, but the way they did it, like, it was just so like that's what a video game soundtrack should sound like. It was just, I can't describe it, but gosh, anybody who wants to have a game that doesn't tell you what to do, and it's all about the visuals and just and even just having the relaxing time, like play this game. So Journey.
Nice. So here's the time that I had a Mario game. I should say, so my top 7, I'm actually looking at this list. My top 7, in my opinion, are all 10 out of 10 games. So I really could have ordered this in any way. But I needed to have a Mario game. I could have gone with Mario Galaxy 2, of course. Could have gone with any number of 2D Marios. I could have gone with Mario Odyssey. But I ended up going with the best Mario game, which is Super Mario 3D World, for the Wii U, and kind of died on that console, unfortunately. The reason I call it the best, so this is one of my favorite video games ever in period. I mean, and that's it, because it has so much fun with what it's doing. It is a 3D Mario game trying to be a 2D Mario game, so the levels are linear. They are more like you would find in, like, if you were to make Super Mario Brothers 3 a 3D game, you would really end up very close to 3D World. Because there's dimensionality, you can climb up things and down things and such, but it's still level based, and they try to keep the same themes. There's also a lot of like one-off mechanics, like all of a sudden there's a baseball and you can do things with the baseball, and then the next level is not there, right? Or there's a level that's kind of like a shoot 'em up. There's a level that plays very much like the old like Super Nintendo Mario Kart with music and everything. Like, it's awesome. It's got a jazz soundtrack. One of my favorite Mario soundtracks ever. Yeah. It's got crazy Bowser casinos at the end and such. Like, Mario 3D World is an absolute treasure. It's the one of like 3 more games that I'm really hoping get ported from Wii U.
Yes.
This would be on my list. It's all co-op, 4-player. There's 5 different characters you can choose from. They play like so it's the same characters from Super Mario Brothers 2, and they have the same mechanics. So Peach floats and things. It's just a great game. It's a great fun time solo in co-op. Loved it. Every minute of it just kind of screams joy. So there you go.
Man, nice. I do hope it gets ported to the Switch. It's my biggest Mario regret, I'll tell you this. I haven't played Odyssey, I haven't played Galaxy 2, but I also haven't played 3D World, and I feel like that's my biggest mistake. So I would love to fix that. I would love to fix that.
Odyssey is a great time. I don't want to throw any stones at Odyssey. I'm not a big fan of Galaxy. We've gone over that, but
Yes.
yeah, Odyssey's a great time. I think 3D World is a freaking marvelous game.
Nice. And 2013.
Yeah, also true.
Yeah.
I got a couple of those.
I sense a theme here.
Surprisingly good year.
Oh man.
All right,
It
Sergio.
definitely is.
Man, I feel bad about this number 6. I feel like it should be higher. I feel like it would be higher if I play this game more. And I will. It's just going to take time. It's Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the cool thing about this is that this game is kind of going to span over this decade too, because of the extra DLC that we're getting. But when you look at it at how it started, even without any of the DLC that we already have, it's a celebration in gaming. We have said it. It has so many franchises, new, old, everything in between. it's everyone is here, literally, and more people keep coming in, and it's awesome. So I do consider it the best Smash. I played others more simply because I guess there were maybe less things to do, less work, less games. But I think this is the best, and I think it being Ultimate, they really went all out, especially Sakurai. He said, "You know what? This is Ultimate. Let's make it really Ultimate."
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree
it's
with you. And Kevin, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and talk about this too because Smash
oh
Ultimate
yeah.
was actually my number 3. So
Ooh,
I'll just go ahead and
okay.
handle it here. I think Sergio, I agree with everything you said. Um, ultimately, like no pun intended, I can't think of a better illustration of video gaming than this game. Just this is what a Nintendo gamer is like.
Yeah.
And it's trapped in like a quote unquote non-fighting fighting game. But it Smash is just kind of its own entity. It's growing. It's huge. This is by far the best Smash game since Melee for me. I really did like Smash for Wii U, but again, my rule of one per list, and it's got to go to Ultimate because they're fulfilling so many wishes, like finally putting Byleth in Smash. That
Right.
you gotta go. Please catch that joke. You just gotta go with it. So yeah, Smash Ultimate would have been that was my number 3. So yeah,
You
Kevin.
know, Smash was actually in my top 5.
Oh,
You
talk about
know,
it now.
yeah, I'll talk about it now. You know, as all y'all have mentioned and alluded to, it is a celebration of gaming. It is a celebration of characters coming together, and you have your favorites. You have characters that you may not know, but once you do get to know them, you would play a game that's associated with them and stuff. Like, I mean, it's just like I can't speak more on how amazing this is. Like, we have like what 80 characters now and more coming. Like, whenever you think of a game that's accessible, it's fun, it's exciting, and you just want to, you can just pick it up and play. And anybody who has just a small inkling or just desire to
No
play a
pun
fighting
intended.
game.
The first character they showed for this game. There you go.
That's true. Yeah. If you have even a remote liking of any semblance of a fighting game or even a game, like this is gonna be mentioned. Like, and
It's one of the best
I
party games ever.
it really is. Yeah.
It's one of the best like competitive games ever. It's just really good. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah, like Kevin, like you said, there are people that don't have a Switch. A few crazies out there. I say that lovingly, but they want.
Well, if they're listening to this, go buy a Switch. Like seriously,
Ah,
you're
yeah,
listening
it's
to us. Why?
That's true.
Like not. I mean, we appreciate it, but why would you?
Yeah, and they want two games. They want Breath of the Wild and they want Smash, even more than Odyssey. I feel like
Oh yeah.
those are the two games that people want the most if they don't have a Switch or are
And
thinking about it.
then Mario Kart.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then Mario Kart. Mario
yeah.
Kart it has to be on there too, but yeah.
It that that is a high tier game for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, but Smash Ultimate, yep, that's one of my top 5.
Okay, I guess since we both kind of jumped on that, we are in our top 5s now.
Oh no, we have one more for the bottom 5, I believe.
Well, we did until we both talked about Smash. So now,
Oh, but I don't want to miss. I just want to touch on this one game though in my bottom
no,
5.
we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
All right.
We'll get to it. So that just graduated to your top 5.
Oh.
There. So you moved Smash down to your bottom 5 because Sergio put it too early. So
All right. Well,
send
okay.
all complaint letters to Sergio Alb 64
sorry,
on
Smash.
Discord.
Man, you just messed up my list, Sergio. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but with this,
No, it's all good.
I think we each have 5 games left. Is how I'll put it.
Okay.
Not counting Smash now. Sergio, you want to start us off on top 5s?
Yes, top 5s.
Cool. Sounds good. And this is the one game that I didn't really play. Well, I played a little bit, not enough of it, but kind of. Let's
The
just
one
say
other
it.
game than Smash Brothers.
Rocket League. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
Oh,
God,
no.
no, not that.
Rocket League is not on the list.
Oh.
It
That's
is not.
interesting because it's not on my list either, but I've sunk
Neither,
hundreds
yeah.
of hours into it, which is an odd thing.
Yeah.
I tried to reconcile that, and I really couldn't come up with a good answer for it, so I just kind of was like, whatever.
Nice. So, okay, number 5, Splatoon 1 for the Wii U.
Oh,
Ooh.
Yeah, so I missed out, definitely. I wasn't into it. I borrowed it from a friend of the show, Danny, and I didn't play as the roller. That was my mistake. If I had only played as a roller, I would have loved this game from back then. But, I missed out, but I definitely made up in Splatoon 2, and to so much so that I realized where it all began. It all began with the first game, and it was Nintendo's take on a 4 versus 4 shooter, third person shooter, with a lot of unique elements, especially, how you handle the ink and how it is part of the battles, basically. Very cool world, new characters, very fresh.
ah,
So, definitely, Splatoon 1 changed, or I guess in a way, it kind of created the shooter genre on Nintendo, at least from the Nintendo perspective. And it's
certainly
carried
in
on.
Japan.
Oh yeah, that's a good
Oh
point.
yeah, it's
And
yeah.
it definitely carried on to Splatoon 2 and hopefully Splatoon 3 not too far from now.
And also it's made people who never really like shooters now. Like Chewy mentioned a
Yes.
while back, where he didn't like first person shooters to begin with, or third person shooters, and just with Splatoon's like, oh wow, now he's just a huge fan and loves it, and like Nintendo. This is so Nintendo. Like they just take a genre
Yeah.
and they make it their own, and it's just like an amazing product. Like this is what they do, and I'm so glad it's on your list. Like it deserves to be mentioned for sure. Like you cannot have a list without Splatoon from any of us. Like,
Is it on your list, Kevin?
or I mean, at least one of our lists.
You cannot have.
Well, it's in my special
Oh,
mentions.
well,
It's in my
I
special.
would have. I would have been surprised if it were.
Yeah. Well, well, okay. Well, I'll tell you right now. Like Splatoon and Splatoon 2 are my special mentions. I didn't play Splatoon, but I played Splatoon 2, and I was like, man, this is amazing. I can't
Yeah.
even.
Nice.
Yeah. So
So
at least one of our lists.
yeah, Sergio keeps messing up my order. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna jump in one more time. Splatoon
Sure.
2 is my number 2 game on my list.
Oh.
Um, I agree with you. Splatoon 1 was the trendsetter there, and the one that kind of defined it. Splatoon 2, we've talked about this before. In my opinion, it's a better game in every way than Splatoon was. 1
Mm.
was. Um, it's just really like it plays so well. And I recommend it to everyone. Even still, the online is still going strong. League is still going strong. We get private battles every once in a while and such.
Yes.
Just every time I play it, I just want to play more of it. And anytime I'm playing something else, a while back I forced myself to stop playing Splatoon 2 so I could play other stuff. Ever since then, I've just been kind of aching to get back into it. And now it's starting to pull me back. And I was like,
Right.
I don't even mind that much. Just because the world is fantastic. The game plays, it's got that Nintendo polish on the actual movement so much that it
Mm.
plays so nicely, and the weapons are really interesting and diverse, and the strategies are there and just fun. It's a game you can hop on with friends and kind of go against the world and such. I don't have enough good things to say about it. Again, I kind of called it a 10 out of 10. In hindsight, yeah, it is. It's a 10 out of 10
Mm.
for me. So, again, my number 2 game of the decade. So
Mhm.
that's
Wow.
what it is for
Nice.
me. All right, Kevin.
Ooh, man. Well, I'm gonna say Uncharted 4. Big impact.
Not as good as Tomb Raider though.
Well, I don't know about that. It's debatable, but Tomb Raider is a good one though, for sure. But Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. I mean, y'all know my love for Uncharted. 1, 2, 3, 3 being released on 2011. I was gonna include 2, but it came out before the 2010s,
Right, right.
and that game was ahead of its time, obviously. But Uncharted 4 just streamlined what Uncharted was all about. Squashbuckling adventure of Nathan Drake, and with his wife Elena, and just going through a journey with, and even with his brother Sam, who is voiced by the amazing actor Troy Baker, amazing voice actor, and I'm sure he's an amazing actor
Yeah,
too.
real life actor, he sucks. I'm kidding.
no,
I'm kidding.
no,
Troy,
no.
I'm sorry. I know you listen, but man.
You know what? And just really quick, I actually did meet him along with the cast of Uncharted at the last PSX I went to. It was so
Yep,
cool.
yep.
Oh my god! Like I was geeking out so hard because my favorite voice actor in that group, Claudia Black, who played Chloe, this Australian adventure squashbuckling person extraordinaire, thing, like just so cool. And like I met her, and like I told her that she was like the best out of all. And then she asked me for her name, and then like I was just geeking out. It was so cool, like just to meet her and like others. Like it was like
And
one of
now
the moments.
she knows one of the hosts of the Nintendo Jump podcast. So you are welcome.
Oh
You,
yes,
you,
that's
are, you
right.
are, yeah.
Thank you. But yeah, anyway, no, and they signed like my art book or the one that came with the collector's edition. Okay, I'm digressing, but Uncharted 4, it's just a very solid third-person adventure kind of game. The story is, very solid too, and the way that they visualize the environments, like Madagascar and just I'm forgetting the other places, but they just did a great job with like just making the game, and not obviously, but my Naughty Dog, like you're gonna get quality, like and even the multiplayer too, which I think is underrated because in a world where you have, well, Splatoon obviously is well deserved, but you have games like Call of Duty and Battlefield, which I think gets way too much attention. I think Uncharted 4 multiplayer, it's up with the best of them, and
Hmm.
I and it was the end of an era too. Uncharted 4. I'm not gonna spoil the ending, but it was pretty much okay. That's the end, and then there's Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, which I still have to play. It's like standalone expansion from Uncharted 4, but yeah, it's just very good game. Like, and especially it kind of reminds you of like it's kind of like Halo, but without all the gravity in terms of just
Aliens
and all the alien stuff. Well, I guess the
Master
one thing.
Chief and like needle guns and such. Yeah.
Well, I guess in terms of like just the way it feels, and like it's not just a one shot kill. Like you have to take your time and be very strategic and deliberate with your
Mm.
actions and your movement when you fight against someone, especially when you try to shoot them and stuff. So that's the comparison I'm making with Halo. I almost went off the tangent there, but
Almost.
almost, yeah. But yeah, it's
All right.
that's in my top 5 now. Now since Super
Yeah.
Smash is
Yeah, congratulations, Uncharted 4. You are now a top 5 Nintendo Jump podcast game. There you
There
go.
we go. Yeah.
All right. So
Anyway.
since I got to talk about Splatoon early because Sergio is messing up my order a lot. Sergio, it's your turn, man.
All right, another 2013 3DS game.
Yes.
All right, Fire
Oh,
Emblem
man.
Awakening.
Oh my God, you're
Ooh.
still doing it.
There we go.
Yeah. So, as a lot of you may know, this game really was an awakening for the series. Back when the developers were making it, they thought, you know what, this is gonna be the last hurrah. If this game doesn't sell, Fire Emblem is going away to a farm upstate.
to, to live with Grandpa and Grandma. Yep.
And luckily it didn't. Luckily it sold really well. I would say that it has brought Fire Emblem kind of to the spotlight because it's like a very prominent Nintendo franchise now. But back then it was a gamble, and they really went all out. You could tell because they really wanted it to, I guess, to be the best Fire Emblem game they could, even if with the potential of it going away. And man, it really showed. It was really well done. I know a lot of people, myself included, became fans through this game. It was my first
Mm.
Fire Emblem game, and man, it just grabbed me from the beginning. Um, yeah, instant classic. Great new series to be so prominent on from Nintendo, and it's a good one to be because it's one of those like more maturist type of games. It doesn't have the
Mm-hmm.
stereotypical kiddie approach that outsiders would say Nintendo has. We know it doesn't, but Fire Emblem is a good example of what Nintendo can do on a different take, in a really good take, I would say.
Yeah. So Fire Emblem Awakening ended up as my number 6 game.
Nice.
Which again qualifies it as a 10 out of 10 game. I very much debated this versus Three Houses for a little bit.
Mm.
Because Three Houses I think is really good in a number of critical ways, but it's also a little soon after Three Houses, and Awakening has really stood the test of time. And ultimately, the story in Awakening is just so cool. Where, it's not really much of a spoiler. You have basically kids coming back from the future to rescue their parents from an apocalypse that occurs, And the way they portrayed those characters, like a lot of the kids are actually kind of messed up by that, right? A lot of them have issues. Like some of them are angry with their parents about it when they show up. Their parents don't even realize that they're going to have kids yet, but
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
man,
it's
ship
just
'em.
it's an interesting mechanic. It actually played into the mechanics of the game. So like the whoever you would pair up, so the so-called Fire Emblem dating sim that started here.
Yeah.
Whoever you would pair up would end up, you get an S support with them, and then they would end up having quote unquote having the child who would inherit skills and stats from both of them. So you could actually like really min max that game mechanically, which is really cool for a strategy game. You're like, hey, I want this kid to have, the ability to do a double move or, an extra magic to attack, that activates every so often. And it activates based on their skill. And I'm going to pair up this person with a person with really high skill so they get that. And then they're just going to be like brutal overpowered at the end of the game. Great. Perfect. And you could do all that. So on a story level, a lore level, a gameplay level, everything clicked on this game, and I think it's honestly, I think it's a treasure. I love Awakening.
I hope they bring it to the Switch because I actually missed out on that. I got into the 3DS library way too late. So man, I mean, I do have my 2DS still here.
There is still time.
Okay, well, there you go. But man.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I mean,
And I kind of see Fire Emblem as a series that could have new games every couple of years and then also a really good remake. So eventually I can definitely see Awakening getting that treatment. I feel like it deserves it. I know when it came out, it was very hard to find the physical version. I guess,
Yeah.
again, going back because they thought, this is not going to sell, especially
And it sold
in
out
America.
instantly.
And it did great, yeah.
Like for a long time, you could only buy the digital version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
whoa, that I did not know that.
Yeah, the physical sold out, and it was sold out for like weeks.
Damn.
Because it was really good. So, yeah. All right, Kevin. What is, I guess, your number 4 game at this point?
Celeste, gotta be in my top 5. I mean, I never had a game that I played where it was just so positively moving and transforming my feelings into this even more energy than I have now. Like, you have this main character, this girl named Madeline, and she's just trying to make her way up the mountain. And along the way, you go through, different characters, and they have their own stories, and then you face your own mirror self, and it's just like this nonstop trying to just this thing feeling in your head like you can do this, and I don't know another game that has this message so like
No.
ingrained into like me into this
Most
into
games
this
like
game.
this have more of a message of, haha, you can't do this. Try
Right.
it. Like,
Yeah, it's like like just
it's a
egging you
completely
on and
different
stuff.
feeling.
Right, and it's just oh gosh, it deserves all the accolades it's got. Like it even got like best indie game of the year. I mean, there's something special about this. What makes me proud of playing indie games like this. Like, for a long time in the indie industry, like, there's all these like small games that will just come out and people will recognize them for a little bit and that's it. But then when you have a game like Celeste that has such a cultural significance of, being more positive and just never giving up, and once you reach the top of the mountain, like you just have that sensation like, wow, like I made it, but I can still do more. Which why they have like the B sides and the C sides, which I still have to finish. But anyway, yeah, for me, I'm halfway through the B sides, but yeah, I just think it's just the platform too. It's very well done, and I want to note this too. They did a great job with accessibility, which I think does not get talked about enough.
Yes.
Having the ability to get that second jump or make it slightly, have the game be more accessible for those who may not be able to, adhere to the original controls, and just be more accessible to more people. Like that is amazing. And obviously, when you have a game that's just this accessible, like it's going to be a big impact. And I'm really glad that they took that step forward to do that. And like, and while still making it difficult to beat too. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's not an easy game.
So Next time we do one of these, I'm going first. Celeste was also my number 4, ironically. So
Nice.
we actually put it at the same spot. Most of pretty much what you said there. The one thing I'll really harp on is that this game works really well for somebody who just plays through the story. It works really well. It also works really well for people who want to really challenge themselves and get through the B-sides and the C-sides, and do that. And it also works really well for like the maniacs among us who are trying to get, like go for perfection or speed running or whatever. Like the game is one of those games that you can kind of approach it at any depth that you want. And the accessibility goes right into that. So easy mode options, I'll say, are really like you can make it so it's just slightly easier, but it's still a hard game. And there's no real penalty for doing that. You can do things like turn the speed of the game down to 90%, which is not a huge impact, but it makes the games slightly slower,
Right.
slightly easier to react to things. Or you can do things like make yourself invincible and give yourself infinite jumps because that's a thing. And so you can approach it on
Right.
so many levels and experience the game. The one thing I thought was really, and I've talked about this before, but the one thing I thought was really beautiful about it was I've never seen a game work the difficulty of the game into the story so well.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it just goes hand in hand. You really want to finish this hard game because it's in the story that you're supposed to, and that actually continued. So Chapter 9 dropped last year. About a year after the original game dropped. And Chapter 9, the last screen of it is brutal. One of the hardest things I've ever done. Period. In gaming, otherwise, it's one of the hardest things I've ever done. I got through it, but I died a lot along the way. And the thing that stood out to me. So Madeline and her alter ego Badeline are kind of working together at this point. And you die a few times, and Madeline just kind of sits there and says something like, I don't know that I can do this. And she kind of has a moment of questioning herself relating to what you just experienced as a gamer, right? And then Badeline pops up and basically says, it doesn't really tell her, no, you can, but basically says, hey, keep trying, just a few more tries. I think we can do this. And it was just powerful. And it's just little tiny things like that are so powerful in the overall story of the game. It's beautiful. So I've said, I think, enough about Celeste over the course of this podcast, but there you go. Games of the decade, it has to be there. So
I want to, and I agree with all of you said, like all of what you said. Like it's just, speaking of beautiful, the music is amazing too. I've lost count how many times I've replayed the remix of the hotel room, like the hotel level. Like, oh my god, like so good. I can't. How do they do that? Yeah, that's it. So.
All right, Sergio.
Nice. I guess technically this is my third game of the decade. Mario Kart 8 for the Wii U
Nice.
from 2014.
I was hoping one of you would put it on because I didn't have a space on my list, but that
Oh,
felt
wow.
wrong. I wanted to.
It's in my special mentions.
Yeah, it's in mine
Nice.
too.
Well, and I think you both agree, and a lot of people would agree, this is the best Mario Kart.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And
Yes.
it's definitely my favorite Wii U game. It was honestly the first game on the Wii U that made me think, man, this thing was worth it.
I mean, that's fair. It there wasn't a whole lot before it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And it's one of those games. I would put Splatoon 2 there that you go back to it whenever you feel like it, or whenever like, hey, people here are playing Mario Kart 8. Let's jump in, and it's so classic. Like you're instantly back in the fun that it was from as far back as 2014 on the Wii U, and it's just one of those games. It's like a staple of multiplayer fun. Very few games get to that level and stay there for years. I feel like Mario Kart 8 definitely did that. Yeah, people I myself want a Mario Kart 9, but do we really need it? Mario Kart 8 is so good. It's still so classic. It's on the Switch. Mario Kart 8 was the starter of that. It's a great game. Best Mario Kart.
Yeah, and even the music that accompanied with the
Oh,
tracks.
so good.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it's so jazzy. Oh,
Yeah, so there's a pretty good correlation for Mario 3D World. It kind of sounds similar. in ways.
I'll
It's
need
got
to
that
hear
same
that
like
soundtrack.
big band jazzy feel at times.
Mm.
So yeah,
Sign me up. I gotta listen to that soon. Oh man,
I'll send you some tracks.
thanks.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, Serge. Mario Kart 8 is the best Mario Kart game. Well, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the best Mario Kart game.
Right.
But they're pretty much the same game. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
with some
230
item differences, but whatever.
I 235% agree.
All right, Kevin. What was that? Your number? You got 3 left. Is that it?
Got 3 left.
Because Sergio messed up my list like crazy.
Oh man, messing up lists. It's all good because I'm about to say right now, Pokemon Go is my number 3.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Yeah. It's the only mobile game I have in my list. And for me, I don't play a lot of mobile games, but when I do, I mean, Pokemon Go, huge impact. I mean, when it first came out, those first 2-3 months of just being on your phone and, you see your screen, you see like Pokestops, like all around in parks, different stores, and just even coffee shops. Like there's just so much, with the Pokemon that you can catch, and it's just so easy to do. And then you're just collecting them all, like gotta catch them all because you want to be the best that never was. But the theme was just to, play with other people and just go on an adventure and catch these Pokemon as if you were, a lot younger and playing Pokemon Red and Blue. Like it's just now it's in the mobile format. And I remember back during those first 2-3 months, we were at a park. Okay, my friends and I were at a park, and then like this Venusaur, okay, with like Combat Power 35 just came out, and then everybody, like I swear, like 200 people in that park, probably the entire population in that park at the time, ran to that one spot where you can catch the Venusaur, and like you can just hear people excited and happy and just like, oh my god, you catch the Venusaur, like hell yeah, like oh man, this is dope. And then after that, there was like a Dragonair, which I didn't expect. Oh, it was just there's just certain times where you're just like, wow, like I'm at the park, I'm walking like a million steps, just like playing with my friends, and like, even regardless if you're Team Mystic, Team Valor, or Team Instinct, like you are all part of this cultural phenomenon of gaming. And I've read on even on subreddits where there were people who've gotten dates from playing Pokemon Go. I was like, wow, this is. You even have events in all around the world where whether it's like for charity or for cancer research or to donate to for cancer research, like and the premise is like, oh, do that while you play Pokemon Go, like to raise money. And I can't even make coherent sentences right now, but yeah, it's so big. People still play now. I still play, even though a lot of people dropped off after those first 3 months. Like there's still.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fad. It was a fad that had fans, so there's still people playing it, but
Yeah.
I think the general masses probably left it behind at this point. But
Yeah,
okay.
it's fine, but but you can't deny like just that those 3 months, like wow, like everybody was talking about
Yeah, I
it,
played it a
like,
little bit.
for sure. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
It's
And I mean that speaks volumes because I hate Pokemon. I don't I don't hate Pokemon.
Step away.
I'm sorry. I don't actually hate Pokemon.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna dig myself out of this hole.
Sure.
I've only got 2 games left. My number 5 game, actually, another 10 out of 10 was Pikmin 3. So also from 2013. Hey.
Nice.
Hey.
So Pikmin 3, at the time it came out, and I wrote about this in the blog post about the games that I thought defined the decade, and I wrote about it in a bad way, because Pikmin 3 it was the first real big game after the Wii U launched. So the Wii U launch was, I think, like 23 titles or something like that, like a really big launch lineup, and then like nothing for months. And it was
Right.
it was really bad. And they've definitely learned the lesson from that. But the game that really stood out was Pikmin 3 because it was the first real big like first party game that came out. And if you know about Pikmin, like Pikmin's not a game that's going to sell consoles so much. It's a game, it's charming, it's wonderful, it's beautiful, it's a lot of fun to play, but not the most like mass appeal. It's not like Breath of the Wild or Smash or Mario Kart or something like that is what I'm trying to say. So a lot of weight got put on this game, and it kind of crumbled under it because I remember a lot of the reviews at the time mentioned, that this game is good, but it's not a system seller, and that was kind of the overall like the reviewers were worried about whether the game could sell systems or not, and that was just such a bad place for Nintendo in this game to be. But the game itself, man, I love this game. I loved it. It's one of the prettiest games I've ever played. It's the reason I'm really looking forward to a new Pikmin. The characters are funny. I liked actually running around collecting the fruit and such. And then the big star of it was actually the mission mode, which is like a timed challenge mode. It's like defeat all the enemies in such amount of time, or collect all the fruit, or whatever. It has challenges over different stages. It was co-op, so my wife and I could actually play it. It was one of the first games that we got. Really into playing together and like trying to min-max these stages and get gold medals and high scores and stuff. It was a lot of fun.
Nice.
I really like, even if it's another one today, there's of the 3 games I mentioned, Xenoblade X, Mario 3D World, and Pikmin 3, I would rebuy on Switch, as is, just like a standard port, because I love these games. I think they're great. The music is phenomenal. The characters are great. The end boss is terrifying. It's great. I love this game.
Good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I did not. I wish I can play it. I hope they can port it to the Switch. But yeah, I mean, gosh.
It's heavily rumored. Here's hoping.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna knock on wood.
There you
Let
go.
it happen.
All right, Sergio, number 2, unofficial.
Number 2, Ori and the Blind Forest.
Okay.
Yes.
There it is.
Yes, from 2015, back on the Xbox and PC, and now on Switch. There you go. Yeah, this game was, I would say it's like the new standard in Metroidvania type games. It was a delight to play in every aspect. It had great controls, very atmospheric. The music, the visuals, the story, the gameplay, the gameplay elements, like everything about it was just perfect. It's one of those games that really stuck with me. It makes me just be happy about life, about being able to experience games like this. From back then when I played it again on the Switch, and in a couple of months finally playing the sequel that it's been so long coming. Yeah, Ori was a great experience for me. Daryl, I believe you were playing a little bit of it.
I was. It got kind of buried a little bit. I played some of it. It's beautiful. I need to get back to it. So I can't speak too much about it, but I did really enjoy what I said, what I saw of it.
Nice.
I think it's got one of the saddest openers ever, but
Oh yeah.
hey, that's a Sergio pleaser right there. Somebody died. Perfect.
Oh no.
10 out of 10 game. There you go.
There we go. Yeah. Oh man, you know what? It's still on my wish list. I still want to play it and buy it. Oh gosh, I just need to make a exception soon. Dang it.
All right, Kevin, number 2, man.
Number 2. You know what? You may or may not expect this, but I gotta go with one of my favorite games of all time, and released in 2013. Yep.
Nice.
Best year in gaming confirmed.
Yes.
Best year in gaming confirmed. Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. Ooh.
That's not surprising.
Oh.
No, I totally buy that. Yeah.
Okay, very good.
It's a great game.
It is, and you have this third-person role-playing game with like Studio Ghibli like collaboration. Like, are you kidding me? Like, Studio Ghibli, one of the universally most acclaimed anime film studios of all time, if not the best. Like the OG, like in a time where in the mid 1980s when anime was starting to get more popular, or is trying to, and then Hayao Miyazaki and his team just like propelled this thing called anime and just Japanese film up to the pillars, and just I I'm always a big fan of the films. You have like Kiki's Delivery Service, My Neighbor Totoro, so on and so forth. And to have that art style in a game, like it's phenomenal. And
Yeah.
I've said this before, the way so in in the battle sequences in this RPG, you control a character named Oliver, and then you have other characters like Esther and Swine, uh, Swaine. Hope that's how you say it. Uh, in this battle, and then you have these creatures. They're kind of like Pokemon, but in Studio Ghibli format, called familiars. And they have like magic abilities and stuff like that, and different attacks and defense, whatever. There's like different spells, and like you, the way they move, and the way you can dodge attacks, and in real time combat. In 2013, and even till now, like that is the way to make an RPG. Like it's I know turn-based is still a popular thing, but I think that with RPGs, real-time combat, that's the way to go. And Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch is a perfect example of how an RPG can shine so well. And I mean,
Nice.
we can talk about if we can talk about music, the art design. I mean, Level 5, the developer is Level 5, who made Professor Layton Games, collaborated with Studio Ghibli, a giant in today's media. Like
Hmm.
it's just I can't believe it. And it's also on the Switch. You can play it right now.
Yeah.
And it's on PC and the PS4. I originally played it on PS3, because that was the first time it released. So.
Right.
And yeah, like how can you deny it is the greatness of Ni no Kuni? I just can't. I think in some circles it is underrated, but it shouldn't be. Like it deserves all the acclaim it gets. I love it. Yeah,
No, honestly, I think people love it. Like every time it's mentioned, people go
that's
crazy.
great.
So
And
yeah.
that's and there's a sequel too, Ni no Kuni 2: Revenant Kingdom, which I haven't played yet. It is. I think I should probably play it soon because I do have my PS4 with me now. I owe it to myself, and I'm done.
Nice. So because you guys kept picking my games on my list, I actually snuck ahead a spot. So now I'm leading you guys. So I'm leading us into the number one games,
Here we go.
which, if I have any faith in my co-hosts, which based on former conversations about this game, maybe I don't. I don't know. I think I found the definitive answer for this. It's the most boring answer I could have come up with. The number one game of the decade is Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This game was such a revelation on so many aspects that really cleaned up the idea of an open world game. It really cleaned up just the design of making stuff look interesting, so you want to go investigate it, and then all of a sudden, boom, something's there, and you feel like gratified about it. It also really it was kind of a standout in the aspect of you can kind of play this game however you want. You can
Right.
go anywhere at the start of the game or at the end of the game. Once you get off the plateau and get all your powers, you can pretty much go anywhere in the world. You can ignore the story for hundreds of hours. You could go straight to the story. You could skip all the dungeons or do whatever you want. But even on a micro level, so you're presented with challenge, and whether challenge is whether you fight this group of enemies or need to climb this tower or how you do a shrine or whatever. You're constantly presented with these little challenges that generally have multiple ways of solving them. So in reference to the group of enemies, maybe you run in, guns blazing, and maybe you're good
Right.
enough to actually pull that off. Maybe you act like Batman and you kind of like sneak around their camp, picking them off one by one while they don't see you. Or maybe you just like run around them and completely avoid it. Climbing towers, you could do things like lighting a fire to create an updraft to get up there, or you could build boxes up, or you could just like find a way to climb it, or every little decision point made the game like uniquely you. And I've never really played a game like that. I'm still wavering on it, but I think this might be the best game ever made. And
Wow. Yeah. It's man.
so if I think it might be the best game ever made, it has to be number one in the decade for
Right.
me. So
Right.
that's it.
Ooh. Well said, Sergio.
Follow that. No, I'm kidding.
No, and you hear that a lot. Like we said, it's one of those games that people that don't have a Switch, they say, "Yeah, I gotta get a Switch for that game," and then Smash, and then other things. But it's Breath of the Wild, the one that it's catching the most eyes of non-Switch owners. Definitely, great game.
Yeah, I agree with both of y'all. It is in my number one. It deserves to be the game of the decade. I mean, to add on what Daryl said, like the way you can play the game is up to you, and it's just so personalizable. And like even when I remember back then when I was talking to other people about Breath of the Wild and like having different experiences, like oh, like I went this way and I just discovered this like this desert, or
Oh, yeah.
I went that way and just like this mountain is all this like lava and stuff. I'm like whoa, and I'm like how do I get there? And then it's just I don't know, like it, and there's just so much, and like with all the hype that came with it, like it met that and more. It's I don't know a game that has done so well as Breath of the Wild in the 2010s. I mean, like you can compare that with, yeah, you just can't. There's no comparison. I mean, Breath of the Wild. And just the sequel coming out, like
Oh
hopefully,
man,
like
I'm hoping this year. Honestly,
hopefully this year.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that. Seriously, I can't.
And you look at the list of awards, like it is won like
Right.
pretty much
Everything.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, albeit there's some nominations, but then like the other like other things, they won all of them. Like whether it's like musical score, best audio, best design, video game of the year, outstanding achievement in game direction. Like there's this, I'm a loss for words.
Best durian game.
I will agree. It is the best Durian game. Oh,
I mean, the
no.
durians are really good for you there.
You know what? Even in the game, I just did not eat it or whatever. I just left it alone.
You're
I'm
missing
like,
out, man.
I don't think so.
You are missing out.
Oh man, but
Sergio, did this end up in your number one spot, or did you make the wrong choice here?
Oh.
I'm so sorry. I'm kidding.
No, I mean, I guess in terms of cultural impact and how beloved it is by everyone that has played it, it's an honorable mention. No, it is not my number one. No.
Wow. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to really harp on a game that's been, cross-analyzed like crazy. So, Sergio, what is your number one?
Yeah, this is personal. So it is my
This is
number
personal.
one.
Oh,
It's a 3DS game. It's from 2013.
2013.
Wait. Can I guess?
Go ahead.
Okay. Let me find a good guess here.
Let's just start with A.
I'm gonna go with Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D. What do I win?
No.
Okay.
Does
No,
it end with G?
Yes, it does. And honestly, it's only number one because I have to downgrade it to the level of game. I guess because technically it is, but to
Oh,
me
man.
it's so much more. Yeah, it's Animal Crossing New Leaf.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To the
Yeah,
surprise
and-
of absolutely no one here.
Oh man.
Yeah, and Animal Crossing fans will tell you when you get an Animal Crossing game, it becomes your life for a long time, at least 2 years for me. And this one definitely did. Honestly, coming off of City Folk, which was the last mainline Animal Crossing game before New Leaf, that was pretty much just a port/remake of the one on the DS, which was Wild World. So a lot of people were hoping for a lot of changes in Animal Crossing on the 3DS. And New Leaf more than delivered. There were so many new things. It took a long time to come out, but it was definitely worth the wait. And like I said, this game, it changed my life. I started doing Heiken with Chewy, and that led to me being here in NJP. And it improved my life. It's definitely changed it. And, in a couple of months, there's going to be a new Animal Crossing game, and I know it's going to do the same thing. It's going to change my life for the better. It's going to become my life for at least 2 years, and I cannot wait for that. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you have a book. You have a photo book.
Okay. All
Of your-
right.
Animal Crossing experiences. I mean, I want to highlight that because, like, to me, you are like the number one fan of Animal Crossing. I know there's that grandma who has played Animal Crossing and everyone harps on her, but you know what? Does she have a photo bug? I don't
Hey,
know.
she might.
She does?
you, you never know.
Well, if she does, I will still vote for my man Surge as the number one
Does
fan.
she have a Haken podcast? I don't think so.
Oh no, she doesn't. So
Yeah,
she's number
so
3.
I mean, yeah, I mean that I expected that for you, but yeah, it makes sense. You know, the game has such a big following too, which is nice to see. And it's a following of a lot of happy people, so that's just kind of fun.
Yep.
I do want to say shout out to Chewy as well. This is if you haven't listened to Haken podcast, they are done by the best Animal Crossing fans in the world, Chewy and Surge. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. So at this point, was there anything? So Sergio, you kind of mentioned it already. You were surprised by the number of 2013 3DS games, which
Yeah.
fair enough. I was surprised by how many Switch games ended up. Like my top 4 were instantly Switch games. I was like, huh, interesting. Kevin, was there anything interesting? Like you kind of put your list together and you go, wait, do I really think? Yeah, I guess I do. You know?
Yeah, Pokemon Go was like
Oh
at a
yeah,
crossroads. Yeah, because like I didn't play for a long while after those first 3 months. Then I started playing again in 2019, and I'm like, wow, this is actually still really fun. And I still met people who play Pokemon Go, even locally here. And yeah, I just cannot deny its significance. It and it's also a mobile game done right. You're not pressured into the gotcha. You know.
Mm.
Characteristic of it. I did not spend a
Right.
single cent on this game, and I still love it. Yeah. So, and then, but yeah, I mean that was like my only yeah, it's gotta be in my top 5.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any? So I think we all had probably maybe a couple quick, games that didn't quite make the list, but when you were initially making them, you maybe thought that they were gonna make the list and maybe just didn't. Like Sergio, you have anything like that?
Yeah, and I should have mentioned it when we talked about it. It's Shovel Knight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and a lot of
Yes.
it has to do with what, like you said, it's been with us through a bunch of the decade. It began its life and it ended it last year, at the very last couple of days of the decade, which was perfect. It's been a journey through Kickstarter, the most successful one. It's a great story. It's a great game. Um, that that's basically it. For the game it is, it's great. Everyone that plays it loves it and knows that it's one of those classic 2D games done right and done very well with 4 very different campaigns, very very polished throughout.
Nice.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely my honorable mentions too. Shovel Knight. I mean, like it spanned over like at least 6 years. Like crazy.
Yep.
Like how is this possible? And then, I gotta say, Fire Emblem Three Houses. That's definitely my social mentions. I even have a necklace of Golden Deer. That's how much I love that house. But yeah, I mean, one campaign, 86 hours, Golden Deer. I would do it all over again. Hopefully, Hilda's surviving. But yeah, it's it. I think it's a tactics game just done right for the decade. And I mean, it a lot, great dialogue, great music. I was very satisfied with the battle sequences and all that. So, and then Mario Kart 8. That's gotta be my special mentions too. I think it's my most played, my most played Wii U game and my most played Switch game in the deluxe version. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Oh, nice.
For me, when I was initially kind of brainstorming this list, I honestly thought Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze was gonna be a lock for it. I really did, and then I just kind of kept moving it down slightly. It's one of the best platformers I think I've ever played ever. It's so good in every possible way. So yeah, I wish I'd found a spot for it, but not really. Nintendo Land surprisingly was very high on my list to start. I think Nintendo Land did a fantastic job at the Wii U launch, and again kind of got buried because of the Wii U. But it was a good tech demo. It was a good showcase of asymmetric multiplayer. It was a lot of fun with people.
Yes.
It was a great party game. I love this game. So that was one that was actually kind of surprisingly high the more I thought about it. And then, so Fire Emblem Three Houses, I kind of mentioned, it got passed over in favor of Fire Emblem Awakening, which was my only 3DS game on my list. But on my honorable mentions, I also had Kid Icarus Uprising. Which, if you guys never played this game, this was a Kid Icarus third-person shooter game. That was kind of halfway Star Fox, halfway on foot third-person shooter, with a full 3-on-3 multiplayer battle mode that was actually really interesting, and like hundreds of different weapons that drastically changed your gameplay and such. And it was developed by Masahiro Sakurai. So it had all of the overabundance that the Smash Brothers series does. And it was just fun. It was really, really good. I actually got in a little crew for it. We went and we did like crew battles against other GameFAQs crews and things. Funny story, famous Smasher DeBuzz was actually in our little clan. I played with him a lot.
Nice.
So he went on to win a big Nintendo tournament in that game. But just overall, that was a huge value that you could get for the money if you could. The controls were a little wonky. If you could get kind of past that, it was a phenomenal game. So yeah, those would be my honorable mentions. And with that, there it is, our games of the decade. That's it. So obviously there's a lot of good games that we didn't mention, but it's opinion and there's ours. So if you have an opinion on the games of the decade and a list that you would like to make, I'm going to encourage you to join up in our Discord and talk about it so we can actually have a discussion. Generally, with an episode like this, I would have put out the call ahead of time so we could put some listeners' feedback in the episode. But I think we might touch on that next week a little bit. I want to kind of stir the conversation with this first. So yeah, jump in our Discord, please, and we'll have a conversation. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about other people's games of the decade. I mean, there's this, because 10 years, what a long time. Like, through like years of maturity and like different interests and different games, like it'll be really fun to hear what other people have to say, and I cannot wait. Yeah, man.
Yeah, and I think we would all agree. Let's just go back to 2013. Let's time travel and just stay there
gosh.
for the whole year. That
Best
was awesome.
gaming year, I have to say. I mean,
I'm
Last
still going
of
with
Us.
2017, but
Oh.
it's close.
Oh, that was really good.
That's
too.
that's
Yeah.
like my second best year. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, 2017 had my number 1 and 2 game. So,
Oh, that's hard. Yeah. Oh gosh. But I can't wait to see what 2020s has in store for us.
Oh man, it's already starting really well.
Well, yeah. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Why? No, I'm kidding. I don't mind
Dude.
waiting another month.
dude, Animal Crossing is like assassinating other games. It's awesome. Animal
That's
Crossing was
true.
like gonna release in a time with all these other games, and now they're all dead.
Yeah.
It's great.
Oh man.
It's so funny.
Oh.
All right. So I think that's probably gonna do it. Serge, you want to talk about our questions?
Yes.
Mhm.
For last week, we asked if you don't have a Switch Lite, what color would push you over the edge? We have a couple of answers. Dragon said that his answer would be ashen gray. He kind of didn't explain honestly what I would think it would be. Wolf Link from Twilight Princess. He has like a
Okay.
greenish, grayish look.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's it.
Okay.
I think that would be great.
Yeah, I specifically asked him what the difference between the normal gray and that would be because I honestly couldn't figure it out. But whatever.
Yeah.
Oh
And
man.
Forest Dragon said, I'm never gonna get a Switch Lite, but if they had one of the purple/clear like they had in the GBA back in the day, I would consider it. Nice. That's a really cool color for sure.
Yeah.
Nice. That's
And
cool.
Shy Guy
color.
said, I have a light, but it was a gift. I wish the light could be customizable like Xbox controllers are. That or a Celeste theme or a Mario Odyssey one would be awesome. Or make swappable faceplates like the 3DS. But if you want a short answer that actually addresses the question, Spice Orange from the GameCube days. Yes, Shy Guy, yes.
Whoa.
Nice.
That'd
That's
be
a good
great.
one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me it would be the Spice Orange or anything brownish, like a mocha, like a nice gray brownish, elegant mocha. Oh,
KK
yes.
slider themed. Okay. Kevin, what color?
You know what, Daryl? You did say Vermilion, but that's not my choice. It's a
Well,
good
that's
one.
just because I said it.
No, no. Well, because the thing is, like Vermilion, like when I see it, it is a bit brighter than what I would want on
Okay,
Switch
fair.
Lite.
Then I think I
Um,
know.
Oh, what is it?
I forget the name, but it's a green, right?
What kind of green?
I forget.
It's British Racing Green.
Yes,
It is my favorite color of all time. A classic racing car color, a classic color, a color just one of the. It to me is the best color for me. I love it. I mean, I love green in general, but British Racing Green, BRG, is for me. Oh man.
Nice. I think for
Yeah.
me, I'm kind of in the boat of wishing we could go back to like the colors from the GameCube, Game Boy Advance era. I would go with that like blue indigo color from the Game Boy Advance in particular. That
Ooh,
casing color
yes.
would look so good. Especially if they could color the buttons as well and make it like a Game Boy Advance throwback model or something like
Oh
that.
my, yes.
That
Yeah, I
would
think
be
I'd been.
great.
I would
Oh.
very likely be in on that.
With a Golden Sun remaster.
Oh my
Oh
Oh.
man,
Don't
I-
hurt
I
me
wanna-
again, Serge.
I want a silhouette of the original characters, and with me in the front. Just kidding. No, maybe, but yeah.
So, what is our question for this week, Sergio?
Question for this week: what was your biggest gaming letdown of the last decade?
Oh my gosh, I have two.
I have a couple.
Oh man,
Oh yeah, I have a
get
bunch.
ready.
It's funny how quickly we jump to these conclusions.
Oh man,
Just the last decade, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll think about it.
Oh,
Get an actual answer, but yeah.
Oof. Okay, I just have one now, but I'll wait.
All right. Well, that's gonna do it. Serge, save us.
Nice. Yes, thank you for listening, everyone. We're gonna jump out of here, but you can keep the discussion going by chatting with us on our Discord group. The description for this episode has a link to our Discord if you would like to join. We are also on Twitter and on Instagram as Nintendo Jump, and we also have a Facebook group. Please send us any feedback you have at NintendoJumpPodcast@gmail.com. The best way to support this show is through our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/NintendoJump, or by leaving a review for the show in your favorite podcast application. We would really appreciate it. This is Sergio, and on behalf of Daryl and Kevin, thanks for listening. We hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
That is from Olivine City, from Gold and Silver, and I believe Violet City too, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
Yeah. Bye.
See
Everybody.
ya.